Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be going through what makes Matt Herms such a good colorist. Now, I'd just like to break down, why does everyone like Matt Herms? He seems to be the most popular of the colorists, and I'm going to be explaining to you why exactly that is. So let's go through the stages of Matt Herms and how he got to where he is today. Let's go down what he used to draw. Okay, so here we have 3 versions of Sonic. And these are all coloured by Matt Herms at various stages in his cartooning career. So, let's focus in on the first one. Now, we can see Sonic here, and the blues used to draw on him are quite, they're quite light for his base colour. And also then you have the dark tones, which are significantly darker, and then you have, as highlights, Matt Herms used the colour white or light blue, as you can see here. Now, he also used, for these little special effects, he used a really light purple, an extremely light purple. Now, you can barely see it against this white background. Now, the interesting thing here is that he uses white in all of his highlights. Now, the thing we need to think about is, what kind of effect does that give off? And unfortunately, if you use white as a light, like a light source color to give your character highlights, it comes off as a little bit stale. You know, it's sort of, it doesn't give it that vibrancy that's so popular these days with his new coloring style. Same with his tan colors that he uses. It's essentially various shades of white, and then he uses extremely dark colors for the shadows. Same with his shoes. There's sort of, it's red, but then it's also just very white. And so essentially that it gives off just a sense of staleness. It doesn't give off a rich cartoony vibe. Same with his gloves. The dark tones on his gloves are like a very light grey. So that was Matt Herms' first coloring technique. Now let's go on to his second. So his second coloring technique is much more refined. In fact, this is when people started to copy a lot, significantly, how he used to color in. So what essentially he's done here is he's gotten a nicer blue, and then instead of making the highlights white, although there are still some light, he's made it a lighter blue, as you can see here. Now, what he's done is, in order to show dark tones, he's used a gradient, and he's shown the individual colors transforming into the dark colors that are the Sonic shadow. So people seem to like that effect. It gives it a really cool. It's more vibrant than, say, if you compare these two. This one seems very light, and this one seems, you know, a lot more vibrant, I guess is the word I'm trying to think of. Now, also, let's look at his shoes. He's adjusted Sonic's shoes from a very red color to a more orangey color, which is interesting. And then for the highlights, he's used almost a yellowy orange color instead of just using a white, like in this one here. Okay, now let's look on to his gloves. So his gloves, instead of having almost no darkness, he's gone for various shades. You can see here, he's got a light grey up here, and then that light grey it's a little bit darker down here. Then he has this very dark tone which signifies a lot more shadow on the glove. And look at that, it's a really nice blue color, like a blue-grey. So he's totally transformed from greys to, now he's moving over to more blues. And also same with this one, it's a lot different as well. See various colors of grey and blue. He's sort of mixing 2 colors together, instead of just having one monochrome grey color all the way throughout. Then also down here you have a lighter grey, but it sort of signifies, if you look in real life, sometimes there'll be like a lighter color underneath the shadow, signifying light coming up from underneath. So it kind of gives a lot more depth to the whole picture. Now, as far as Sonic's tan colors go, you can see here that instead of this it's not as dark in this one as it is here. Look how dark. Look at the difference there. These are the difference in colors of shadows that Matt Herms has used. So you can also see he's used the gradient here, and it looks really nice. It looks really awesome. Also, let's just note that with this hand here is significantly lighter than this one here. So what do I mean by that is the base color. So the base color for the hand back here is this, whereas the one here is white. And the reason he's done that is to signify a depth, to show that this hand is behind, and so he's made it a darker color. Same with the tan part of his arm. See, that's what it looks like there. And then the dark tones are like that, so it's different. So it's subtle, but you don't really think about it much, but you can see just by looking at it that there's a lot of depth, you know? He sort of spans, his arms span all the way down, and you can totally see that there's a lot of depth there without even really thinking about it. It's automatic, the way he's colored it. So you can see that he's really leveled up in how he's colored between these two pictures. Now this is where his art is at now, his coloring is at now, is at this stage. Now this version of Sonic is, I think the coloring that he uses is the fan favorite. This is the style that everyone tries to emulate these days. Now the reason they do that is, just look at it. Matt Herms has really perfected his art here. So he's got a really nice color blue, like a primary blue, as opposed to the very light blue. And it seems to add a lot more depth to Sonic. Now, the cool thing about Matt Herms and what makes him stand out is that he doesn't use various blues. Like, see here, he's used various blues on this Sonic, just to show that there's darkness. But here, Matt uses various tones of purple as well. So he's got 3 different colors here on this Sonic's blue. So he's got the normal blue, then he's got the light blue, and then he's got the darker blue, but it's almost a purpley color. And then, just to emphasize that even more, he's got another purple. And you can see here, you have like a wide range of colors between the two. So if I'm just to drag that over, look at the difference in color. It's like 3, it's a light blue, dark blue, and then like a purpley color, like an indigo and then a purple. So he's, instead of using a darker blue to signify shadows on Sonic's character, he's opted out to use a different color. Now this is this is sort of changed, or this is what I've noticed about Matt Herms, is that every time he colors something, so for instance with Sonic's shoes being red, instead of using a dark red like this, instead he'll use a pinky purple color like that. See the difference between these two colors? And that's given off a nice effect. It's given off a vibrancy that looks really, really nice. And it makes his shoes look so much more cartoony, but yet refreshingly nice. It's not like a staley, it's got a nice depth to it that everyone seems to like, otherwise his style wouldn't be so popular. Alright, now let's look at his hands. Now, what I kind of like about Matt Herms' new style is it's not as in-depth as his old one, in terms of, I mean, look at this hand compared to this hand. He's used so much detail in this one here, so much. Like, he's got so many different colors going on. But in this one over here, it's just simply a blue color, and he's added some highlights in various areas. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the normal dark tone that he used on the entire glove, and then just to signify some slight light bouncing off the glove, he's used a lighter color, but it's almost unnoticeable, but from a distance it just looks very nice. It looks very full, and I really like it, and apparently so does everyone else. Otherwise Matt Herms' style wouldn't be so popular as it is today. So also his eyes, he's sort of changed the eye color of Sonic. See here, he uses greens and then yellows to highlight it. Here he's sort of got an orangey yellow as well as green. And on the final iteration, he sort of opted out for like a dark bluey color and then a light green, which is nice. I think it's a nice touch. All right. So what has he done for other characters in the series? Alright, so let's just get rid of that. Okay, let's look at old Knuckles. This is how Matt Herms used to color in Knuckles. He uses mainly reds, and then to signify shadows, he uses darker reds. So he uses reds here, and then shadows are just darker reds. And then he adds a bit of light. He uses orange for the highlights. And same with the gloves. It's mainly grays, nothing too stand out or fancy. Now let's look at how he colors Knuckles now. So Knuckles, he's used a really nice red. Look at that difference in red. It's subtle, but if I zoom in there, you can see that it's a more vibrant red, just a nicer red color, as you can see. Now, instead of using just dark reds, which gives off sort of a yucky sort of color, he has decided to go with purples. So let me show you what I mean. So this is his base red color. Then he's decided to use dark purples as the shadows, and then sort of as like effects, sort of signifying depth, he's used lighter purples, as you can see in this part right here. See, he's got one color. He's got one color here, one color here, and one color here. They're all 3 different colors, just to show the kind of depth that Knuckles has on the character. And each color he's used isn't a dull looking color. They complement each other so well, and he's figured out how to choose the right colors that correspond with a vibrancy and a lack of just grayness, or not grayness. I can't think of the word, but he's used vibrant colors. Is the best I can describe it. That's the best way I can describe Matt Herms' style, is that it's a very vibrant style. It sort of pops out and it gives it a Sonic Universe type look that it should show, but at the same time it's sort of different from all the other colorists at Archie Comics just because of how nice the colors look. Also, let's just talk about the gloves for a second. In this one he's used instead of using the traditional grays, he's used light blues, and this hand here has used a very nice blue. And I think the difference is nice because it makes the gloves stand out a lot more. It just looks very nice. Putting light blues instead of grays to signify shadows makes it look really nice. Alright, let's move on to Shadow. So this is a picture from Shadow, like in issue 183 or something, and this is a Sonic Universe picture colored by Matt Herms. This one here wasn't colored by Matt Herms, but this one was. Now I'm just trying to show you here that look at the difference in interpretations of how to color Shadow. So in this one here, they've opted to go out with just a straight black. Shadow's completely black. And then with the red, they've added white for the highlights. That's pretty much it. That's all he has. His rings aren't highlighted at all. They're just straight yellow. And they've used purple for the underside of the shoe to signify shadows, which I think is really cool. Now, let's move over to Matt Herms and his interpretation of Shadow. So notice here that he's added shadows to Shadow's red spike quill. Well, I never thought I'd say that before, but there you go. So it's got red here, and then in order to signify that there's dark tones on his quills, he's added that purple, that really nice purple there. And he's made Shadow completely black, and in order to compensate for Shadow's being completely black and not being able to present him having shadows on his body, he's used these purple colors. So this is Shadow's base color here, and in order to signify dark tones on him, he's used this dark purple here. And you know, I think that's really difficult to do because I haven't mastered it at all. But I think it looks really, really nice. It makes Shadow really pop out. Same with this, he's used, to show lighter tones, he's used a lighter purple as well. So you can see here. So he's got 1, 2, 3 colors on Shadow. Now, what does also stand out is he's used, you can see the color here, and then it goes over the red on Shadow, and that sort of signifies that that part of his eyebrow is touching the light, and then it morphs into dark here, which is his the other side of his like little red spot on his eyes, and it just makes it really pop out. Same with Shadow's rings. Look at the difference in rings. He's used tans and oranges and whites, just to give it a gold effect, which is really nice, as opposed to this one, which is just straight yellow. So, also with his shoes, instead of using such a dark purple, he's opted out to use a grey purple, which is a lot nicer. And he's used an orange because it's metal. Instead of using a lighter red or something like that, he's used an orange because it gives off a metallic feel. As you can see in this spot here, that part of his ring pad thing, it gives off a metal tinge because it's got that shiny bit of orange on it, which is great as well. Alright, well, I hope that this has helped you to understand a little bit more about why Matt Herms' style is so appealing, and a little bit of how he does the things he does, which chooses the colors that he chooses. In the next video, I'm hoping to do a full breakdown, a massive breakdown video on how to choose various colors when you're coloring your fan characters maybe, or show why Matt Herms would use certain colors on his Sonic characters. Anyways, thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!